Hello and welcome. I'm Srinivasan and this is Talking Sense with Srini. In this edition, we are keeping the spotlight on passports. Yes, you're right, the same document that lets you travel the world, and you thought it proves who you are, and now you realize it doesn't after the Ministry of External Affairs just clarified that passport can be a document of travel and certainly not of a citizenship proof. And joining us to take us through the nuances behind this subtle statement is our editor-in-chief, Srinivasan. Hi, sir. Let me begin with you. On paper, this sounds quite contradictory there, and I say this because, you could travel the world as an Indian citizen with a passport in hand, but domestically, the same passport is not a proof of Indian citizenship. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. To a common citizen, it'll all look very complicated and kind of a gobbledygook, kind of a bureaucratic lexicon.
That's right.
In
Yeah.
general parlance, people will just say, "Oh God." Now they are not even recognizing the passport. That's the kind of a message it will send. It was unnecessary, unwarranted. I don't know why. When a reporter asked this question, basically it was about SIR. He was asking, since there was a question mark over various documents of proof in a SIR. So the question was whether passport is since it was passport seva program, the question asked was whether passport is a proof of citizenship. And the official could have just, kind of slinked away or said something rather than wading into this and saying, no, it's only an identity and doesn't prove citizenship. So I think it was unwarranted. So even Jaishankar, I would quote him in another program addressing passport officer. He said, a passport is not a booklet of pages. It's a powerful tool, a vital tool of economic mobility, of international trade, and I would even say of national identity. That's what he said. Now, it would be very confusing after saying all this, why one of his officials says something like this. Basically, they are trying to make a distinction between what is basically an identity card and citizenship proof. Now, there are other identity cards which you have heard. There are multiple cards
Aadhaar
we
is
all
one.
have. Aadhaar is one. We earlier thought is Aadhaar actually proves that you are Indian. They are saying no, it's just an identity of your address, your telephone number, your parents. That's all. Now, a place of residence. Now, there is another identity, PAN. It also gives your bank account. It links you and gives a kind of a financial identity to you. And then there is a voter ID, which you
Epic
can
cards.
vote. But again, there are other issues with the voter ID. That you have to be an Indian citizen to be eligible to vote. But then it says that voter ID is a identity card for getting into the polling booth and voting. But it is not a definite proof of citizenship.
That's right.
Then there is another one which we all know, ration card, which we nowadays
We call it smart card here in
Yeah,
Tamil Nadu,
so it's not issued nowadays to people above a certain category. So ration card has lost its kind of a
Relevance, yeah.
relevance, at least in the urban population. It's still very valid document. So these are various documents which people have. Like I said, these are Aadhaar, PAN, voter ID. These are all we carry. Now, what is it the government is trying to say here? Now, when you travel abroad, you carry your passport, and it attests your nationality. It says that you are an Indian national. Now, the concept is a national when you travel abroad, and when you come to India, the same thing becomes citizenship. That's a distinction they're trying to make. So, you are a national when you carry a passport, but when you come to India, whether it is surely a proof of citizenship. Why? That is a more nuanced discussion which we must have. Now, the assumption is that there can be someone who's not a citizen of India and could yet be issued a passport.
That's what the norm says,
Exactly. So they are saying, yes, there is a possibility to non-citizens also of the passport.
Which is
issued.
under Section 20.
Exactly.
A passport can be issued to a non-citizen in the public interest.
Correct. Now, that's an important point.
But
in public interest.
But has it happened in the past?
Yes, it happens.
Okay.
It's a very, very minuscule, small. I spoke to an officer and find out whether such a thing exists. He said, yes. Passports are also issued to without declaring the nationality. Okay, now it is done largely as a undercover operation or a security. That's why it says in national interest. It could be something which we
The
don't
public
know.
interest, yeah.
In public interest, not national interest, sorry, in public interest. So it could be in public interest, they would be carrying out certain activity and they require a certain cover. And it could be, I mean, one doesn't know the details. That's a very, very, very small possibility. So this whole thing of bringing this definition was slightly unnecessary. For 99.999% of Indians, when they apply for passport, let's go through how it works for them. When you apply for a passport, the first thing is there are various documents they ask. You know, your date of birth, place of birth, then the parents, details of your parents, then your place of residence, then your identity, whether you have been to school or college, because that also helps in giving date of birth, confirming date of birth, your place of birth, all those things. And then the next thing is for immigration not required kind of status. You also have to say that I am a graduate. Now, then it is not given. After that, a policeman actually comes to your home to verify two things. Whether you have no criminal record, they will ask your neighbors. And the second is that the place you reside is a correct identity, place of residence. These two things to do, and they match it with the identity card which you give of all that I mentioned. Now, the thing here is when all these conditions are met, when we say that in India we do not have one single identity of citizenship, all these multiple identities together become citizenship. My argument is actually you have gone through all this for passport verification.
To obtain a passport, that's right.
And on the top of it, a policeman also come and seen you. Now, when passport is given to only, there is this very subtle thing one has to understand. You declare. There is a declaration from the person who is applying for a passport that I owe allegiance to the Constitution of India, that I won't do anything which would go against the interest of this nation. I owe complete allegiance to its constitution, its rules, regulation, everything. So in a way, when you have accepted from your side that whatever this nation stands for, I stand with it. It's a declaration also signed by you, which means that person is not a separatist or he is not a foreigner. He says, I'm an Indian. And it's a declaration from him. And that is also signed. That proof is also with the police officer who visits your home because you have signed that paper. It's a self-declaration. It is a valid declaration. So all these things combined, it should be considered, generally considered that it is a proof of citizenship. And yet, you have all this contradiction. There is another point which we can see, and this was brought to light by Mr. Vivek Kajju, a former Foreign Office Secretary, very widely traveled diplomat. He is retired now. Now he writes in TheFederal, the latest piece. It's very interesting what he writes. He says that under Section 6 of Passport Act, there is a deniability is also there, which means government was before 1967 there was no passport being issued. The Passport Act came into being in 1955, and then in 1967 they decided under Passports Act we'll start issuing passports. Now there the deniability was there, which means an Indian could be told that you won't be issued passport to visit certain countries. And which are those countries? That time it was South Africa, because it followed apartheid and racist policies. So Indians are not allowed to go to, because we didn't have any relationship. Similarly, Israel. We didn't have any diplomatic relationship with Israel, and Palestinians were being brutally dealt with. So these are two countries in which Indian government was not issuing passports. So we had a clear demarcation which were the two countries in the world where Indian citizen cannot go. So there was a certain deniability in the passport. Now, over the period of time, things have changed. South Africa has changed. Israel, our relationship has changed. So all those things are gone. So almost Indian passport is valid for travel. Almost all the countries in the all the countries in the world, anywhere you can travel. So Mr. Kajju's argument is that since this deniability factor is gone now, which means when you are issuing a passport, by inference, this should be considered as a proof of citizenship because the passport otherwise is given only to an Indian citizen, isn't it?
That's right.
And the thing is, where the section 20 which you mentioned, which is a kind of an exception, is for a very, very minuscule percentage of people, which is basically, I said, in public interest. There could be some activity which has to be carried in public interest, which need not be discussed in this thing. So that's a separate thing. So in effect, that's what most people understand, and that is what a passport is supposed to be.
Yeah, but if you look at what's going on in the Western countries, particularly in the United States, there, a passport is accepted as a conclusive proof of citizenship for nearly all purposes. And in fact, the State Department, which is the foreign ministry equivalent of the United States, that issues these passports to its nationals there. Why hasn't India built that kind of a mechanism here?
Yeah, so that's a demand now being raised, saying that, so there are various arguments over that. Then, like I said, well, why don't we start issuing something which declares that you are a citizen of India? I mean, that's what people are now coming to. Now, the thing is, there are various possibilities. One is, I heard a lawyer saying that, look, law evolves over a period of time. We didn't have a passport act. We brought that when we amended that act, and subsequently we have been making changes. That's how law evolves with the evolving nation. Maybe now a time has come that we should issue people a kind of a certificate saying that you are a citizen of India. By the way, now how a citizenship is determined? I mean, let's go to the other question.
Yeah.
If you go to the citizenship law, the first is by birth. If you're born in India, you are naturally a citizen of India, which means you must have a birth certificate.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, people like me who do not have a birth certificate, because in my time that wasn't considered very important, I may go by my class 11th mark sheet or class 12 mark sheet, which actually gives my date of birth and the place of birth. So in a way, it proves. That is the first thing, that is going by the birth certificate. Or the second is by descent, which means basically blood relation. Your parents are Indian, then you automatically, by descent, you become a citizen of this country. So suppose you were not born in India, you're born somewhere else. That's the third one. And you have come to India, but then your parents are Indian, therefore you will also be accepted as Indian. So the earlier law did not say this, but in 1987 there was an amendment to this law which said that for this law to become valid, at least one parent, 1987 this was brought in by, I think, Rajiv Gandhi, must be an Indian. Later, during Vajpayee's time in 2004, it was further amended saying that both parents should be an Indian. Now, this is for those people who are born later.
After 2004.
Yeah. So, for them, either one parent is no longer valid, both the parents should be Indian, then it is automatically they are accepted as Indians. Now, there are other, by naturalization, which means somebody has been living in India for a very long time, he could be given citizenship of India. The other is by registration, that you can register yourself as which is again a process which you have to go through. Now, in these cases, last two cases which I mentioned, the MEA actually issues a certificate saying that now you are a citizen of India, which means this category of people do have a certificate. Rest of Indians like us do not have any one specific certificate. It's a combination of all these documents which proves that you have Indian citizenship, which for an ordinary citizen may sound very complicated. So the question may arise, why this is being discussed now?
Yeah.
So why it is being discussed? So there are many inferences. One of the inferences is, as usual, we know that it's all linked to elections. So certain SIR, now we have 16 states are going through a process of SIR. Specifically, more important is elections to Uttar Pradesh, which is coming soon, next year. And then there are elections to Punjab. Now, Punjab, I think in entire country, apparently they have 2 crore voters. Of this, nearly nearly 8 million or so are passport holders. So there is one lot of passport. So they could bring during an SIR activity passport as a proof of identity. Now, the more important is Uttar Pradesh. Apparently, there again, whole lot of passports are issued to people, and therefore that is considered an important identity. Now, are we now reaching a situation where, if you remember, the activist went to Supreme Court and said that, look, Aadhaar should be considered a valid document. It was considered a valid document for of identity and not as a conclusive document.
That's right.
People were at that time concluding, and many observers said that passport is the only valid citizenship document. And now, by making this distinction between nationality and citizenship of India, the government is now trying to say that, look, even if you have passport, it may not conclusively prove that you are necessarily an Indian citizen. Now, so this was, I think, in my view, it is completely unnecessary, and one really doesn't know what is the real intention behind this exercise. Whether there is anything linked to SAR or it is just off the cuff remark of the official. If it was an off the cuff remark, there was no need for other officials to further confirm and elaborate on this. There was
That's
no
right,
need for that. So one really doesn't know what is the larger game plan behind this. But obviously, in my view, it is completely avoidable.
So one last question there, sir. Is there any immediate impact for all those NRIs living abroad because of this statement?
No, unlikely. Because when you travel abroad, uh, internationally, it is enough to have a valid visa stamped on your passport issued by your country of origin. So I think that is the only valid document they're going to look. They're not going to look at what is the interpretation of the document issued to by your government back home, how it is seen or valid. That is not their concern. So I don't think it should affect any of people who are either already abroad or
No, but can you say
abroad.
that with absolute certainty in a Trumpian world?
Well, I think you see these are global practices. So some and like you mentioned earlier, that America's passport is actually a document which confirms that you are the
Yeah, that's right.
citizenship of that country. So most countries have these kind of laws. So I do not see any problem in that. Basically, this is more to do with the citizenship question within India.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Insightful talking to you.
Thank you.